tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. What has really happened on the battlefront in Vietnam? Let us be proud of those who sacrificed, who gave their lives, so that the world might live in peace.
I love the smell of money, boys.
We gotta stay off the radars till morning. Find a place off the maps, lose the heat.
What do you think? That place is empty.
The van's gone.
Someone's got our money and it's Nugless.
What the hell's going on?
We have to keep moving or he'll find us.
We're being hunted. He's gonna track us. He's gonna lead us in the open. Then he's gonna kill us. You won't make it out of here. No one does.
Next on.
I'm a proud man living with vitiligo, which began in 2010 when I was in Form 2. So that is it. So I had to accept the vitiligo itself because I sat down and saw my grandparents were really using a lot of resources.
Nilikuwa mdogo, wenzangu walikuwa wanaruka barabara huko Ushago. Mimi nikiruka barabara gari kapita na mimi. Kapelekwa hospitali nikiwa mdogo. Jini nilikuja nikakuwa inakoma. Nikakaa inakoma karibu mwezi na kama sijisikii.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
Well, they always say you should never forget where you came from. And why am I making that reference, you wonder? I'm making that reference because it is the hometown, the boyhood state of Joe Biden that finally had him, or rather gave him the chance to reach the magic number of 270 electoral votes that he needed to be elected the 46th president of the United States of America. Of course, we're going to be following up on that. We're going to be bringing you more details in regards to that, as well as other matters. And, well, thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of Channel 1 News Hour. With me, Richard Munga. Our sign language interpreter is Byron Abuli. We're going to be back with much more, but first, let's have a look at what to expect throughout this bulletin. Democratic candidate Joe Biden elected the 46th president of the United States in a hotly contested election. Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto warns against breaking any bridges in the continued push for adoption of the BBI report without amendments. And more than 1,000 COVID-19 cases reported for the fourth day in a row as government continues to crack the whip on contraveners of health protocols. Well, now let's get right to it, whereby Joe Biden has trounced Donald Trump to become the 46th president of the United States in an election that was characterized by claims of election fraud. Biden gets into the White House after surpassing the 270 electoral college votes to the jubilation of his supporters who flooded the streets. Trump has maintained that he won the election and is yet to give a concession speech, even as the president-elect Joe Biden said he was honored to have been elected with a promise to be the president for all Americans.
Biden's victory is based on unofficial results from states that have already finished counting their votes. Joe Biden, in a tweet, thanked the American people for voting for him, saying he was honored to have been elected and pledged to work with all, irrespective of how they voted. His deputy Kamala Harris, in a tweet, said the election was much more than Joe Biden or her. It was about the soul of America and their willingness to fight for it. In a tweet, President Donald Trump maintained he had won the election. His lawyer Rudy Giuliani maintained the election was a sham, saying they will be seeking legal redress. Trump is yet to give a concession speech and is expected to give a speech in Philadelphia. It is now a game of wait and see what next, even as Biden supporters poured onto the streets in Jubilation. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiro.
Well, a lot has been transpiring, and we shall be bringing you pictures, of course, whereby we shall be looking at the reaction on the ground, whereby, well, different reactions. You have Joe Biden, of course, supporters, that is the Democrats, and, well, in other states, they have been witnessed are the Trump supporters, of course, the incumbent, the supporters saying that, of course, the election has been marred with, of course, massive fraud, but those claims have so far not been substantiated. And as you can see at the moment, that is the state of New York, that is New York City. At the moment, of course, jubilation, as you can see on your screens. Of course, Joe Biden supporters, mostly the Democrats, of course, celebrating that big win for the Democrats. Well, we shall be following up on that. We shall be bringing you all the updates in regards to that. And you can also look out for more stories in regards to the US election on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. Now, moving on, Kenya has recorded over 1,000 new cases of coronavirus for the fourth day in a row amid heightened calls for the government to crack the whip. The latest statistics by the Ministry of Health shows 1,065 more people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours, while 10 others unfortunately succumbed to the disease. This coming as security personnel in Migori County have been deployed to enforce the COVID-19 regulations on wearing of face masks as well as social distancing. Nancy Okware with more on that.
Migori County Commissioner Boaz Terutich says they have deployed security officers to arrest those flouting the COVID-19 regulations, calling for sub-county enforcement teams to be set up to conduct civic education.
So we are appealing to the residents of Migori to give support to these officers. It is not our intention to arrest and prosecute individuals. But then what we are telling them is that they must observe these guidelines, they must observe the protocols.
But the key thing is that Mwananchi must be aware that COVID is real and we need to protect ourselves. Protection starts with us. You know, COVID never comes to you. You go for COVID.
Meanwhile, ODM's parliamentary aspirant Omari Boga in the Msambweni by-election is currently recuperating under the home-based care program. Boga was discharged from hospital to recuperate at home after testing positive for COVID-19. He has cautioned Kenyans against laxity under the false notion that COVID-19 is not real. These as the country continue to record high coronavirus cases. With 1,065 cases recorded from 7,386 samples tested, pushing the total to 61,769. In the last 4 days alone, the country has recorded a total of 4,676 coronavirus cases, with over 1,000 cases being recorded each day. 888 patients were discharged from hospital, with 1,270 still admitted. 59 patients are in the intensive care unit, with 26 on ventilator support and 27 on supplemental oxygen. Another 94 patients are separately on supplementary oxygen, out of whom 80 are in the general wards and 14 in the high dependency unit.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And the national government, through its post-COVID-19 economic stimulus program, has allocated 1 million shillings for payment of salaries for 3,500 rangers working within the community conservancies across the country.
We have completed our process, and next week we will release salaries for September. So next week we will start releasing salaries for 3,500 rangers, community rangers wenye wanafanya kwa conservancies.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Now, of course, with an influx of coronavirus cases being reported all over the globe, just a brief look at the numbers at the moment. The COVID-19 confirmed cases in the world at the moment stands at 49,965,916, while unfortunately 1 million people, 253,182 have, of course, lost their lives to the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, some good news, 35,417,616 have so far recovered. Well, let's get on to other matters now, whereby President Uhuru Kenyatta has sought to cement Kenya's long-standing relationship with Italy as a key development partner. On Saturday, the head of state held bilateral talks with his Italian counterpart on how the two countries can strengthen their engagement on trade and investment, tourism, and the global fight against COVID-19. Just like Kenya, Italy is currently fighting a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has paid a courtesy call to his Italian counterpart Sergio Mattarella on the sidelines of his visit to the Vatican City. The two leaders discussed how Kenya and Italy can exchange ideas on how best to combat the spread of coronavirus pandemic in both countries. Italy is one of the most affected countries in the world by COVID-19, having registered over 40,000 deaths. Just like Kenya, the country is currently fighting a second wave of the outbreak.
You can remember that Italy was the epicenter when the COVID began in March. And they've managed to overturn that now to be the showcase of the best case study in the way they have managed COVID. So Kenya stands to benefit a lot from lessons learned from their COVID situation.
Italy is among the top tourist and investment source markets for Kenya. In 2019, Kenya exported goods worth 3.4 billion shillings to the European nation, which was a decline from the 2018 figure of 3.9 billion shillings. Kenya is looking to cement its bilateral ties with Italy with a view of attracting more Italian investors keen on growing their investment in Kenya. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Oma.
Now, the weekend kicked off with calls for public discourse on the Building Bridges to Unity Task Force report. Deputy President William Ruto challenged leaders to work towards building a united nation, cautioning against burning bridges in the quest to build bridges. This coming as political leaders continued to differ on the contents of the report, with some pushing for amendments to the document, while others called for the passage of the document without amendments.
Tunaweza hata simama kwa sababu ya heshima. Tusimame tu. Tusimame kwa sababu huyo ndiye amefanya tukuche hapa.
Nataka niwaulize viongozi wote, sisi wote, vile familia zote zinaelekezwa, lazima tutafute njia ya kukubaliana, ya kushirikiana na kutafuta maelewano. Hiyo ni ya muhimu sana. Hakuna haja ya kusukumana mpaka ikafika mahali watu wanagawanyika. Kama kwa kweli tunataka kujenga daraja ya urafiki na undugu, lazima tufanye bidii kiasi ya kuhakikisha kwamba hakuna daraja hata moja inavunjwa. We must continuously build the bridges of friendship, partnership and unity.
I am the chairman ya mabunge yote ya Kenya, na wakati tutagawanywa kwamba MCAs 2,287 hawataelekezwa upande mmoja, tuone viongozi wetu wote wameshikana, inakuwa na shida kubwa sana. Na sisi tunaomba kama MCAs, kama mabunge ya nchi hii, watu wote wa Kenya to be involved in the BBI process, because it is about ourselves, our children and our future.
I plead, I pray, I urge, I request wa Kenya tusikubali hiyo original idea ya 2002 ya kuleta pamoja ikorogeke hapa. Tunaomba hii BBI imalize vizuri by having everyone on board on this journey. That is a journey of reconciliation.
BBI is a beautiful initiative ambayo sisi tunaunga mkono na tutaunga mkono, lakini kuna masuala ambayo yako hapo ndani tungependa muanze mapema hata kabla referendum haijaanza.
Ile asilimia mgao wa serikali imeweza kuongezwa karibu maradufu ili mwananchi aweze kupata maendeleo. Na kuna mengi ambayo ni ya vijana ambayo kwamba pia ni muhimu muweze kuyajua ili hata ukipiga kura yako ujue unapigia nini.
So we need to look at this, what we have done. Is it working for our country? Let us sit together and reason. The reason why it was done this way was because at Naivasha, was because those who do not want devolution wanted them to be so small so that they can be controlled from Nairobi. And a time is going to come, maybe not now, because opportunists are going to use that to bring this down. That's why it's not being addressed. But a time will come when Kenyans have to look each other in the eye and address this issue.
And meanwhile, the government will have to go back to the drawing board after the High Court temporarily suspended its directive for all imported cargo to be ferried through the standard gauge railway line. A 5-judge bench sitting in Malindi ruled that the directive by the government violated the constitution. At the same time, the judges dismissed a petition seeking to have the Mombasa port managed by Mombasa County government.
The ruling by the 5-judge bench comprising of Justices Lydia Achode, Eric Ogola, Anthony Mrima, Joel Ngugi and Pauline Nyamoya has dealt a blow to the government efforts to drive business to the standard gauge railway line and ease congestion on the roads. The judges ruled the directive infringed on the rights of the Kenyan Transporters Association and other stakeholders. Hence, the Kenya Ports Authority and Kenya Railways should seek their participation before arriving at the decision.
The third respondent had to do the following. A, give notice of the intended directive to the fourth petitioner, importers, transporters, other port users, and stakeholders. B, accord an opportunity for the fourth petitioner, importers, transporters, other port users, and stakeholders to be heard on the question. And C, give reasons for the decisions made, in this case, the impugned directives. None of this happened. For this reason alone, the impugned directives are constitutionally infirm.
The judges noted that while KPA and Kenya Railways had legal authority on their agreement, they had no right to impose it on stakeholders without public participation.
The respondents were bound by the provisions of Article 10 of the Constitution, particularly the participation of the people, human rights, good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability.
The court also dismissed a bid by 3 Mombasa residents who wanted the county to manage port operations. The court ruled that the residents were unclear about specific remedies they wanted and failed to discharge the burden of proof and present evidence on specific violation of their rights. The Kenya Transport Association has also argued that importers of cargo at the port have a right to choose the mode of transport to their destinations of choice.
Article 46 of the Constitution, as read together with Articles 27 and 28 of the Constitution, grant the freedom to choose one's mode of transportation, as the fourth respondent claims. We have provided what Article 26 of the Constitution provides.
For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Also, a 1-month-old baby is in dire need of 2 million shillings to undergo a life-saving heart surgery in India. Baby Joshua Minor was diagnosed with a congenital heart disease barely a week after he was born. His family is now appealing to well-wishers to come to their aid and assist them raise money for his treatment.
Meet baby Joshua Minor, whose birth date coincided with the inaugural Huduma Day marked on the 10th of October. The family was celebrating the birth of their son. However, their joy was short-lived 1 week later when his parents noticed he was struggling to breathe.
Walimuadmit na wakaanza kufanya kumchunguza shida ni nini. So walimchunguza na baadaye wakanotice akona shida ya moyo.
It was then that their journey to hospital would begin as they sought answers on what could be ailing their son. According to his father, Nicholas Minor, they got answers on what was ailing their son from Kenyatta National Hospital, where he was diagnosed with a congenital heart disease.
Kwa muda wa majuma mawili sasa, amekuwa akitibiwa huko. Wamejaribu kufanya scan, wanarudia tena.
But more bad news was on the way. Doctors at the facility informed him that he will require specialized corrective surgery that is only available in India.
Niwaambie mtoto wangu anahitajika kwenda India na sina hiyo pesa.
The life-saving surgery will cost them 2 million shillings, money that they can barely afford, having spent most of their resources in tests and medication to keep him stable as some of his organs are now failing.
Kiangalia chenye niko nacho na biashara ilikuwa imeharibiwa na corona. So nikaona acha nijitokeze kwa wananchi niwaambie shida yangu kwa sababu naona ile pesa wameniambia nitoe hata maishani mwangu sijaiona.
The family is now pleading with well-wishers to help save their son through financial assistance. Monies to assist baby Joshua get the life-saving surgery can be channeled to Baby Joshua Medical Fund pay bill number 8015817 or telephone number 0725701213. Name Nicholas Minor. I repeat, monies to assist baby Joshua get the life-saving surgery can be channeled to Baby Joshua Medical Fund pay bill number 8015817 or telephone number 0725701213. Name Nicholas Minor. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Now, I feel like there can't be more emphasis on that for those willing to help. The M-Pesa pay bill number for baby Joshua Minor is 8015817. You can also contact the relative, that is Nicholas Minor, there 0725701213. Now, moving on to other matters, a 30-year-old Masie is on a mission to change the narrative and prove that one can rise from the proverbial, and of course, one can rise from the proverbial grass to grace. Towet, who dropped out of school due to poverty, managed, of course, to turn her story of hopelessness into one of success. She tells of her journey as a housemaid to attaining a university education, having worked single-handedly to raise her own school fees. Here is our inspiring story.
Meet 30-year-old Masie Towet. She is currently a fourth-year student pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree in Education at Mount Kenya University. Her face tells nothing of the struggles that she had to go through to set foot at an institution of higher learning. She narrates her journey to this day. She joined Form 1 at PCA Ngong Hill Secondary School in Kajiado County in February 2012. On her first day in school, she caused a stir. 22 years, she was the oldest learner in the school, but this did not deter her. She went ahead and studied for 4 years, completing high school at the age of 25 when her peers were already working. Born in 1990, she sat for her Standard 8 examination in 2005 and scored a remarkable 390 out of 500 marks. But her parents were too poor to afford her secondary education fees. Masie, nevertheless, never abandoned the hope of resuming her education, even though she had no idea how this would come to pass. Masie shuffled between different jobs for the next few years until she saved enough money to enroll at PCA Ngong Hill Secondary School.
In the year 2011, on December, I decided that I will never do housework again. Someone challenged me to go back to school in the year 2012 so that at least I can acquire my Form 4 certificate. And I went back to school.
When 2016 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination results were out, it was her moment to bask in glory after surmounting all the odds stacked against her to score a B- and qualify for university admission.
It was a new dawn in my life, And by the grace of God, I completed my Form 4 in the year 2015, and I did my first KCSE. And I got a C plane. I was not comfortable with the grade. I decided to repeat again. I got a grade of B minus, and which gave me a direct entry to university.
Though she was finally offered placement at Mount Kenya University, Masie was at her wit's end yet again when her parents could not pay her fees.
With time, term one from one.
Now gives motivational talks in various schools, particularly those in Salga area within Rongai sub-county, and encourages the pupils and students in these schools by sharing her story in the hope of inspiring others to rise from their struggles and to turn their misfortunes into fortunes.
Since the ongoing pandemic struck the nation, so I do motivational talks to primary schools and to the secondary schools to just encourage the boy child and the girl child not to lose hope and to continue with their academics.
This is a story that truly no human is limited, and with the right attitude and motivation, it is possible to surmount to any challenges. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Well, that inspirational report takes us to a fast break of the bulletin on, of course, Channel 1 Weekend on KBC Channel 1. But, of course, remember, for all those stories that you've heard or seen, and for more updates in regard to the same or other matters, remember to log on to our website, www.kbc.co.ke, and you can also reach us via social media platforms. Give us your feedback on the news via those on Facebook, KBC Channel 1 is our page, and on Twitter you can tweet us at KBC Channel 1. See you shortly.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
My primary school life was difficult, but my mom struggled and I managed to finish class 8, 2016. I knew back in my heart that minus getting a scholarship, I couldn't make it for the high school. My friend told me all benefit of Wings to Fly, scholarship, school fees, shopping, transport. I knew that there's no any option to get the school fees. That's why I went to apply the scholarship. My mom was called back and told that Edwin got the scholarship. I knew it that my dreams would come to pass. 2020, when the coronavirus pandemic came, I was very, very worried about my KCSE, but Wings to Fly gave us light system and the radio that we will continue lessons with it. Now I can read at night and wake up very early in the morning, like 4, to go through my books. Before I got the scholarship, it was like darkness was before me. But when I got the Wings to Fly scholarship, light has come to my life, and I am sure that by God's grace I will go to the best university in this world, which is Oxford, to partake medicine and surgery, and I can see my future being very, very good.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Karibu jisikie uko nyumbani. Ingawaje mgeni machoni mwangu, maana sijawahi kukuona mahali popote, ndo mara ya kwanza. Lakini ambao mgeni akija mkarimu, karibu sana.
Mlimalizana vipi na mheshimiwa juzi?
Ile juzi bwana mheshimiwa, mimi nilikajua nilikuwa na shida zangu za kinyumbani, ushapata. Ikabidi mimi nilikuwa na zile shida zangu kamomba 50k anisaidie nazo, lakini alivyoniambia hata nisubiri kwa katika siku 2, ushakuta. Na mpaka sasa sijapata hata simu yake, yani maji.
Welcome back to Channel One Weekend. Now, a section of small-scale coffee farmers in Kiambu County has embarked on an ambitious venture that will see the group mill and directly sell the produce. The farmers say they hope to get a share of the lucrative premium export market where quality coffee beans fetch a premium price. This and more stories in the County News Roundup.
The 10-member cluster group says it will collaborate with the new Kenya Planters Cooperative Union in milling, grading and finding markets for the produce in a bid to make better returns. The farmers will be responsible for growing, pulping, milling and selling their coffee, thereby eliminating middlemen blamed for the drop in coffee prices.
Farmers are tired of being used by middlemen, and our meeting today is to remove any role of the middleman. And we have agreed that the coffee that we will get, it is going to be milled by the new KPCU. And the good thing with the new KPCU is that they have allowed us to go and ensure that we can be able to supervise our coffee during the milling period and the storage. Also, even when they store for us, they will store for free.
Meanwhile, the Road Safety Association is decrying an increase in road accidents, accusing the National Transport and Safety Authority of sleeping on their job. The association's chairperson, David Kiarie, is alleging rampant corruption at the vehicle inspection units, calling on the government to rein in on the vice.
Seriously speaking, we are experiencing so many deaths on our roads. Hii mwaka peke yake kufikisha hapa, tunazungumuza tumepoteza watu zaidi ya 3,000 kwa hesabu ya NTSA, lakini kwa hesabu yetu tumepoteza watu zaidi ya 6,000. Policies ziko za kutosha, sheria ziko za kutosha, lakini watu wetu wanazidi kuangamia barabarani.
Makofi kwake, makofi. In Kajiado County, more than 700 vulnerable pupils from 3 public primary schools in Loitoktok have benefited from a donation of sanitary towels, stationaries and face masks. The students who come from poor backgrounds have been facing difficulties in meeting their basic needs due to the economic disruptions occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic.
Wazazi wao wako katika hali ya poverty na kwa hivyo hawapati mahitaji yao ya kawaida kama vile sanitary towels, chakula. Wanakuja the whole day without food kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni because the parents cannot afford even kuwawekea kitu kwa meza.
Elsewhere, 3 persons with disability in Waitaithia Estate in Thika Sub-County have completed a 40-kilometer walk aimed at raising 7 million shillings to assist learners at a community-based school pay their fees. George Mwangi, John Lukenya and Cyrus Kinyanjui completed the walk from Nairobi to Waitaithia in 3 days, managing to raise 140,000 shillings.
Wakati corona iliingia mwaka huu mwezi wa 3, kama zile shule zingine ambazo zinaitwa ni shule za kibinafsi, tulipata shida sana. Na hapo tukafika mahali tukaona kwamba vision ya shule hii inafifia na kwamba itakufa, na lazima tungejikakamua tufanye jambo ili kuokoa jahazi.
Finally, Kenyans have been challenged to embrace traditional food delicacies to achieve a balanced diet and good nutrition. This was the call during a food festival held in Makueni, in which nutritionists urged Kenyans to incorporate indigenous foods in their daily meal as a defense against diseases.
We are also encouraging our people to take the natural or our traditional foods or the local foods from our area.
Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 News Hour.
Now let's have a look at the news making headlines in the world of sports. And we start with the top story in that category, whereby Kenya National Sports Council has come up with mechanisms of ensuring sports continuity despite the COVID-19 pandemic, which has halted all sports activities in the country since March this year. Also, the national boxing team is ready for the Mabingwa competition in Dar es Salaam, slated for the 4th to the 10th of December this year.
Of the 138
Sports Council Chairman Derito Gekaria says the council is working with the federations to come up with possible ways of ensuring sportsmen and women continue with training to remain in good shape, as well as ways of resuming contact sports. Gekaria has also admitted a challenge in managing sports activities since the COVID-19 testing, which is mandatory to all sportsmen and women, is expensive.
It is. We have a program. We have talked to our federations. We have advised them on how they can continue training and taking care of their athletes, even with the pandemic.
The council, which organizes the East Africa Games, was forced to postpone this year's event, which was to be held in Uganda due to the pandemic. Elsewhere, the national boxing team is ready for the Mabingwa tournament slated for 4th to 10th December this year in Dar es Salaam. According to Boxing Federation of Kenya Secretary General David Munuhe, the team is well prepared for the tournament as they target to clinch all gold medals. Munuhe, who is also the national team assistant head coach, says he will use the tournament to gauge his boxers ahead of next year's Olympic qualifiers.
Right now, let me say we are engaging with the national team. As you know very well, we are training at AVF at Lavington, and this because we are also planning to take our boxers to Tanzania for Mabingwa, and we are mainly concerned about the national team.
Christine Ongare and Nico Koth are the only Kenyan boxers who have qualified for next year's Tokyo Olympic Games. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sports.
Meanwhile, the national men's basketball team, Morans, that will be tasked with representing the country at the forthcoming AfroBasket Championship, was unveiled Saturday ahead of the qualifiers set for November 26th to the 19th in Kigali, Rwanda.
Head coach Cliff Owuor has assembled a strong squad that will seek to qualify Kenya to the Continental Championship for the first time in nearly 3 decades. Some of the dependable players at the center of Owuor's Continental Quest plans include Captain Griffin Gare, his assistant Eric Mutoro, forward Ariel Okal, and center Tomo Mukota, who plays for Patriots in Rwanda. Kenya booked their ticket for the November contest by winning the 16th FIBA Africa Zone 5 pre-qualifier in Nairobi in January. They battled against Burundi, Eritrea, South Sudan, Somalia and Tanzania. In 2019, Kenya had a dazzling run at the inaugural FIBA AFCON basketball tournament, winning silver. The Kenyan team, which is a blend of foreign and local-based players, has been training at the Nyayo National Stadium ahead of the first round of the qualifiers. The second round of the qualifiers will be held in February at a venue to be decided. The top 3 teams in the group will qualify for the African finals set for Kigali in 2021. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sport.
And Kenya Women Premier League side Eldoret Falcons and Salasa Queens reaped big in the opening fixtures of the 2020 edition of the Salasa football tournament played in Eldoret. Falcons preparing for the 2020-2021 league season at the end of the month to control of the Pool B played at the Eldoret ASK ground, while Salasa leads Pool A at the Golden Gates ground.
Eldoret Falcons, one of the most experienced sides, stand Espodek 3-0 before drawing against University of Eldoret to top the pool. In another Pool B match, Great Link were 2-1 winners over Basa as Espodek, who lost the opening match to Falcons, humbled Basa by a solitary goal. Host Salasa registered commanding wins, starting with a 5-0 win over Cherunya Divas and a 6-0 victory over G-Save. Santos were 5-0 winners over Eldoret Rangers, and Cherunya Divas were 1-0 winners over Santos. The Salasa tournament has brought together 10 teams drawn into groups. Group A has Salasa Queens, Cherunya Divas, Eldoret Rangers, Santos and G-Save, while Group B comprises of Eldoret Falcons, Espodek, Great Link, Basa and University of Eldoret. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sport.
Now, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has set guidelines ahead of the resumption of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The AFCON qualifiers are also set to continue next week between November 9th through to November 17th.
The 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers had been suspended since the outbreak of the coronavirus earlier this year, which wreaked havoc across the world. The last qualifiers were played in November 2019, as the games scheduled for March this year were postponed due to COVID-19. With a gradual resumption of football activities across the world, the AFCON qualifiers are also set to continue next week between November 9 through to November 17.
Dangerous, oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity, it's in the back of the net, there it is. And I think it is that man, Zidou. He's done it. He's scored the goal. Well, that's a very dangerous ball. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net. This is remarkable.
In an effort to have a hitch-free success during the campaign, the African Football Governing Body CAF has set out rules to guide the competition. 5 substitutions will be permitted by each team, which will be made during 3 opportunities. A team that refuses to travel for a game due to COVID-19 matters would lose the match, as well as a team that does not have the required number approved. CAF also reveals that the qualifiers will be played without fans, but also gave an exception to the rule. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sports.
Although we're going to be taking a short break, but don't go too far, as more sport is coming up next.
If we didn't get the funding from Equity, the COVID pandemic would have been a big hit to us.
Next on.
How did that domestic violence towards you make you this person?
The incident that propelled me really to start was a gang rape that happened to this girl. She was 19, she'd been raped by 5 men, and she had been thrown in a ditch.
We said, if you want to be helped, join Equity.
Unajua nini mam, niko karibu kwenda shule na sitaki kuwa na stress kukuhusu.
Kristi, hebu rudi shuleni.
Wewe enda mtuwakilishe sisi wale tulishindwa na masomo vipoa.
When Angela and Christy meet at the university, their bond somehow clicks.
Dad is somewhere up there in the sky on his way to China. I'll never forget when he took us to Singapore. Wow, it was fun.
Followed by a friendship that would defy their parallel backgrounds.
Since umezoea shower. Good luck inside there.
How is this door shut?
Kuma bezi nuko mushoishikilie mlango kwa frame.
This new territory presents all manner of pasts as influence, temptation, family histories, and peer pressure set in. The rest of their lives become a story of love, survival.
Wait.
Please, mom. Kubali tu story tumalizane twende home.
Influence, backstabbing, jealousy, and revenge.
Niambia tu kule stage muonekana na minji fulani mkikama hapa mtaani.
You decided to sneak from the hostel and go to Ray's studio without consulting me or Tiff.
Join us on Tempted the Campus Diaries as we explore this hilarious, never-seen-before drama.
Hebu nilipe pesa zangu wewe.
With a touch to behold. A story of temptation.
We need this win, Wanjala. You have to win.
They are fearless, yet friendly.
I hope hauna machungu after ile game ya mwisho.
I'm allowed to be concerned about you, Wanjala. I'm your wife.
I will take good care of you. Fierce, yet fair.
Pa combo sasa. Pop! Toza kidogo. Pop!
Firm, yet faultless.
You embarrassed Mom. All of us.
But it would be nice if someone would look out for me too.
You don't listen to me.
Because you always want to tell me how to...
Jemo unadu nini hapa?
You are embarrassing me.
Ina lobi mimi siwezani nayo.
Kona, Kenya's daily drama.
Taina train ya tona muhimu sana kwa life yangu. Kwa hivyo vile mimi nafanya hapa ni upuzi.
Naweza kukusaidia kujua ni akina nani?
Mimi siwezi chukua msaada kutoka kwa Saitani.
What is this?
It's a make or break chance.
Your fun, fabulous, full team of Kona. Every fine weekday, right here on KBC Channel 1. The road to the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations brings us home to another exciting qualifier where Harambee Stars host the Colasantes of Comoros on Wednesday, the 11th of November at Kasarani. Watch it live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 at 7 p.m. as we continue to showcase Africa's best on your true sports partner. Betika proudly brings you Kenya vs Comoros AFCON qualifier live on KBC Channel 1.
Now let's have a look at international sports, whereby Bruno Fernandes double eased the pressure on boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as Manchester United got back to winning ways at Goodison Park against Everton, following their disastrous defeat against Istanbul Başakşehir in midweek and a loss to Arsenal last Sunday. United redeemed themselves by registering a 3-1 victory.
Flick, Bernard has found the bottom corner and Everton have found the lead. Fernandes, smashing header, prompt and much needed Manchester United equaliser. Fernandes, Rashford! Whether or not he got a flick matters little. Manchester United have a lead.
Well, now we're going to be bringing a conversation to your recorded conversation. Yesterday we spent some time with former Kenyan international Asif Karim. He has been here not so long ago. We were talking about the Kenya International Sports Film Festival, but we were talking about the previous edition. But now he shared some insights regarding how to move forward and how cooperation between not only the sports industry and the government, but as well as the sports industry, the film industries, Kenyan sports fans, really, it's a whole affair of that needs everyone's cooperation for it to succeed. And we also shared something about cricket, how cricket has, of course, evolved since the days when, well, you could debate that it was not all-inclusive. Well, it's not entirely all-inclusive at the moment, but a few strides have been made. Now, here is the interview, or rather, here's the conversation that we had earlier yesterday with former Kenya international Asif Karim. Now, of course, as most of us know, on Monday we had quite a session on Sports Check, of course, with Big Richard Munga, and our second guest actually had a lot to say about the sports industry. I'm talking about none other than Asif Karim, also a former Kenyan international in tennis and cricket. We are going to be talking about how you, as a former sportsman, how it has influenced your whole mission to bring about sports film in the country. So just briefly, you'll give us just the background of the Kenya International Sports Film Festival, and then we're going to be talking about other matters in relation to that.
The concept of these sport film festivals has a history of, I would say, 100 years. So what I mean by that is when my forefathers came here 100 years ago, actually 1926, since then the family has been involved in sports at national and international level. You know, so we have 3 generations that played international sports for Kenya. My father, myself, and now my son plays for the national team in cricket. And so when I retired after playing for 20 plus years, I felt that I would like to document my experience, my history, my parents' journey on sports, because I realized that when we were traveling around the world, and you would see, as you just drove out of the airport, you would see huge billboards of the superstars of that country. Yeah. And so they were made to look larger than life. You went to the bookshops, you would see books on them, posters on them, you see television ads on them. So there was a huge promotion that was going on and making their sports personalities respected and given the due credit of what contribution they do for their country. So I said to myself, when I come back, I would like to give back to sports. Of course, one would be into the administration, but that's another subject. I did not want to go, but I'm sure you're going to bring that up. So I decided I'm going to do something on my own where I can be able to make a decision. So I started producing a sports magazine in the year 2000, and to date we are doing it for last 2 decades, 20 plus years. And of course it's on complimentary and it's the only consistent sports magazine in the country. And then I started planning to do a book, and then an Indian filmmaker came to see me and said that he feels that there should be a documentary on my family, because, and of course I laughed it out at that very stage, because I would have never even thought of a documentary. I mean, it was a completely foreign, and it's not for us. I mean, I thought, no, that's too big for us. You know, we are okay with magazine and a little bit of writing. So he convinced me and my family that he would like to do it. So after a long discussion and contemplating through the whole thing in terms of the finance and so many other logistics, we produced a documentary called The Karim's A Sporting Dynasty. And so that documentary went around the film festivals around the world, and I was invited to India in New Delhi. So my wife and myself went there as their guests, and the documentary premiered in Delhi. And it was purely a sports film festival. So as we were watching excellent, inspiring stories, it just struck to me and her that Kenyans, we have good stories of our sports heroes, if not better. I mean, we are world stars. I mean, in the last 50, 60 years, our Kenyans have done fantastically. But do we have anything on record? We don't. So I said to myself, as the book was the project we were doing, that as soon as I complete that, we would go into a sports film festival. And that was the birth of the film festival in 2018.
This is the book, The Karim's Sporting Dynasty. And once I actually went through it, I've gone through it a couple of times since Sunday, of course, throughout the festival. And what caught my eye is something you've also mentioned about documentation, because in the book you have pictures not only of you, but also your family, your father, who was also a sportsman in the country, and your son, as you mentioned, he plays for the Kenya cricket team, the juniors. But in the same breath, talking about documentation, the concept you're bringing along, the one you're trying to promote, is about sports film, actually making films to document our sportsmen and sportswomen in the country. But at the moment, what kind of traction do you think it has the possibility of gaining, considering even in written form, we actually also have a problem in, let's say, documenting our sportsmen, even in written form, in books and whatnot?
I think the opportunities are enormous in that field, because we have not done anything. Yet we have so much material over the last 50 years, and it's important that we capture it before it's too late. I mean, as I mentioned the other day, that when I was speaking to some young creative people, and I said, we need to do documentaries on people like Naftali Temu and Kipchoge Keino, and they gave me a surprised look. So it's like they didn't even know who these people are. So yes, we are totally zero, I would say, on that. It's very limited in what we have done. So I feel that there is a great opportunity for the sports industry and the film industry, the creative industry, to come together, because we have enough stories to write, enough stories to talk about, enough feature films to do about.
At this moment, I'm guessing, of course, having been pushing the idea for the last 3 years in Kenya, let's say, what has been the best way, according to you, the way you've looked at the whole sports industry in Kenya, what do you think is the best way to actually approach these sportsmen and women, considering that most of them are camera shy, to say the least? So how do you plan to go about that? Be it making a documentary about an individual sportsman or woman, or even featuring, whole clubs, football clubs, rugby clubs. You also have, even athletes also have their own, clubs, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's a good point you made. It's again a matter of awareness. We need to create awareness. We need to educate the public, and this festival objective was that, is to educate the public on how sports and film can be put together. I mean, if we received over 1,300 movies from 108 countries, and Kenya had only 14, it tells you that we are behind. So it's important that the stakeholders get engaged, have conversations, which has already started. From the time we started in 2018 to now, there are already conversations taking place on how we can do sports documentaries on our stars, or sports documentaries on football teams or clubs that have done over the world, because that's something that needs to be done. So it is already a work in progress. It's not an event, as I keep saying that. This is a process. It's a process that needs to be having continuous dialogue, continuous discussion, and as I said, the film industry right now is very much supporting on this matter. The budgets are also quite good from the government, and so right now, in fact, the Kenya Film Commission is also promoting in various areas for the creative industry, including creating an empowerment fund. So the Film Commission is now giving money to filmmakers. So I would appeal to the filmmakers to go apply for this, present your documents on what you can do in the film industry. And I'm sure if there are good stories and the Kenya Film Commission will support it. So it's an engagement, it's a conversation, but I'm very, very optimistic that we will achieve this target.
As a former sportsman, and moving along with sports film as a concept, what do you think are the most important beats that need to be documented about sportsmen?
I think it's an all-inclusive thing on this matter, but remember, we have all watched a sports movie. We've all gone to a cinema, and when we come out of the theater, we are very inspired. We are fired up, and we feel so good about it. So it's a very important avenue to bring back the youths. We need to give them a platform. Also to say that sports is very important part of one's life. And sports now is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So is the creative industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So you're putting these two platforms together, which meets the president's agenda. So it's a perfect platform. A, you're going to create jobs. B, you're going to honor our sports heroes who I call them the unsung heroes of this country. They need to be given the due respect, and that can only be done by documenting about them, talking about them, so that we also let the youngsters know the history of where we have come from and where we need to go. So I think that the sky is the limit. The opportunities are plenty. It just needs us to put our heads together, and a lot can be achieved.
How can we ensure that in the future we can mold these young athletes and sportsmen, all that? How can we ensure that we mold them into leaders, sports leaders?
It's very important that we must first accept and treat sports as a multi-billion-dollar industry. And if it's a business, you must employ the right people in the right position. It's not that because you have played sports means you are automatically to be in the system. The governance is important. It's very, as you rightly said, that the young sportsmen and women must not only play sports now, but by extension, they need to have training on leadership. They need to understand that money making is difficult, but managing money is much more difficult. So there needs to have regular discussions, conversations, seminars to now treat as a package. Because you cannot just say that I'm just running or I'm playing cricket and that's it, and then when I'm done, I'll just get into the system. It does not work anymore like that.
Just a personal question. You said something interesting, that we should not just pick anyone because someone was in sports and put them in a position of leadership. So, which brings me to another question, a personal question, if you don't mind me asking, but you yourself, have you considered it? Let's say someone approached you, be it the president or the CS for sports, approached you and said, hey, do you mind working with us to maybe shape the way forward for sports in the country? Do you believe you have the necessary requirements, since you, as you just mentioned a few seconds ago, not every sportsman or woman, just because they play the sport, just because they represent the country, doesn't mean that they are in a good position to actually be good when it comes to leadership? Well,
I mean, as a Kenyan and as a proud Kenyan who has served this country for almost 40 years from playing for the country, contributing with the sports magazine, now doing the film festival, it's my patriotic duty. If I am called by the president or by the appropriate ministry to give my views or my input on it, I regard that as my patriotic duty. I would definitely look at it But I have my way of doing certain things, and I would want to put the structures in such a way that we make a success of what we are doing. So to answer your question, yes, I have never refused on the matter, but it has to be in a procedural manner.
I've seen all the pictures in your office, of course, of all the during the squads, during the time you were representing Kenya in the sport of cricket. And I've noticed that from before it, actually, we've made a couple of steps. We've made a couple of steps in ensuring everyone has been, everyone is inclusive, because the perception was it was a preserve, it was a reserve of the Indian community. But then again, what can you say about how far we've come, considering later on we had the likes of Tikolo, Dumbe and all the former Kenya international who are actually legends?
Cricket's history is very long. Cricket first was played in Kenya, in Mombasa, in 1896. So we're talking about over 120 years since cricket was brought here by the colonial masters. And of course, and then the Indians came for the railway and the communities grew. So it was a sport primarily played by the British colony and the Indian community that came in. Until, I would say, in the late 70s, when the cricket was now promoted to the African cricket, again by default. All the private clubs are owned either by the whites or the Asians at that time. And the people living in the neighborhood is where, out of curiosity, they would go to the clubs and then start playing cricket with maize cobs and all. That's how the whole thing started. Yeah. And I remember my first trip in 1980 for the national team. We went to Zimbabwe. It had just become independent from Rhodesia, and President Mugabe was president then. And that was the first trip where we had 4 African cricketers play for the national team. So the inception of African cricketers to play for the country started way back in 1980, so almost 40 years, and they've done fantastically well. I mean, the contribution that the African cricketers, the names you have given with the Odumbes and the Tikolos, the Sujis, the Obuyas, I mean, those are 4 or 5 families that have done proud to this country. They became international stars, as you rightly used the word legends, and they did proud, and as I said, we've done very well. Up to the 2003 World Cup, where we reached the semi-final. So the things have changed. Now there are more Africans playing in the sport, and I think it needs to be nurtured more. There is a lot of potential, but we need to put our house in order. There is a huge support internationally for Kenya. I mean, even the Indian cricketers who used to come and play here in the 80s and 90s.
Kenya International Sports Film Festival. Forgive me, I always come back to that because it's actually an initiative that I find very viable. And we had the 3rd edition, came to a close on Sunday. What's next now for the Kenya International Sports Film Festival? What's next up until next year when we shall be having the 4th edition?
I mean, the feedback again right now is enormous from the government side, from the media side, and even at the international level. I mean, this time we also had producers of the movies that we screened communicate to us virtually. So there's a lot of interest being shown. There are a lot of producers who are talking about how they can film in Kenya. So I have, of course, led them to the Kenya Film Commission. So conversation is going on. There is one film producer coming in next week, looking at a potential story of a sports organization, which I can't relate right now. So it's a work in progress. It's something we will continue. But of course, as rightly said, a once-a-year event cannot sustain or cannot put that much impact because people will either forget or have other priorities. So what we are now looking at, as I said, it's a work in progress. We are now looking at next year to see if we can open an online television sports channel and culture, so that we could have, like we had the panel discussions during the film festival along with the screening of the movies, so that we have a regular discussions on sports disciplines in this country, on the challenges that each organization is going through or the sportsmen they're going through, so that we make it a continuous dialogue. And as I said, with time, it's like a flake. And the snowball will take time. You know, it starts with a flake. So we have reached to a small snowball, it's a work in progress, and I'm sure in the next couple of years, it will be something that all Kenyans will be talking about and will want to follow what we are doing.
Okay, that has been Asif Karim, former international cricket stay in Kenya as well as tennis, talking to us about the concept of sports film in the country, which includes documenting everything we have achieved so far as a nation, be it in athletics, be it in rugby, be it in cricket, tennis, all sports disciplines really, what we've achieved so far. And also Kenya International Sports Film Festival, he is the director, he is the founder, so maybe we hope that his experience as a sportsman in this country will actually guide the way forward in his endeavor of promoting sports film in the country. Well, that's it for this interview, but always remember to get more information via our website and all the news and updates. That is www.kbc.co.ke. Thank you. Now, if you missed out on beats in regards to that interview, remember you can also log on to our website, www.kbc.co.ke. You can also check out our YouTube page, that is at KBC Channel 1, for that interview and, of course, for more. And, well, big story, one of the big stories today is the fact that Joe Biden has been elected as the 46th president of the United States of America, and we shall be following up on that. We shall be bringing you all the updates in a subsequent bulletins, so remember to stay tuned in. Well, that's all the time we had for Channel 1 Weekend. I'm Richard Munga. Our sign language interpreter has been Byron Bully. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Rainfall continues to dominate most parts of the country tonight as the Met has earlier sent a rainfall advisory. A very good evening to you wherever you're watching us from. My name is Yusufar. This is your Channel 1 weather updates. Tonight, Narok is the coldest recording of temperatures of as low as 11 degrees Celsius. Remember to stay warm in that region. Tomorrow morning, we are waking up to rains in most parts of the country. Wajir, Moyale and Marsabit will be having rains with sunny intervals in the morning. For residents of the northeastern region, expect the same as well. The capital city will also have rains in the morning accompanied by sunny intervals. For residents of Mombasa, Kilifi and Lamu, expect showers in the morning accompanied by sunny intervals. Let's take a look at how your afternoon will be looking tomorrow, and showers with some thunderstorms rather in Kisumu, Kisii, Kitale, Kericho and its environs. Showers with sunny intervals continue to dominate coastal region and Mandera and Lodwar. Mandera will have rains with sunny intervals. Lodwar will have sunny intervals in the afternoon. Let's now take a look at your temperatures tomorrow. And Lodwar has highs of 34, lows of 25. Marsabit highs of 24 and lows of 18. Garissa highs of 32 and lows of 23. That wraps up your local weather forecast. The international weather forecast is coming up in a bit. Again, many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Do have yourself a lovely night.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Nairobi branch 0728 087 689, Eldoret branch 0722 227428, Thika branch 0725 000 706, Meru branch. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a TVET approved institution.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
My trust is in you. Oh, coming up exactly 34 minutes, Johanna Omolo.
Watch it live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 at 7 p.m. as we continue to showcase Africa's best on your true sports partner.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Karibu jisikie uko nyumbani. Ingawaje mgeni machoni mwangu, maana sijai kukuona mahali popote, ndo mara ya kwanza. Lakini ambao mgeni akija mkarimu, karibu sana.
Mlimalizana vipi na mheshimiwa juzi?
Ile juzi bwana mheshimiwa, mimi nilikajua nilikuwa na shida zangu za kinyumbani, ushapata.